DC motor, you have the armature winding that is mounted on the rotating part of the machine. So to give current into the armature winding, you need to have commutator and brushes. So this mechanical commutator and brushes are available for feeding current into the armature winding. And this winding is actually provided in the rotating part of the machine. Now, when you are having a magnetic field created by the electromagnets which are placed in the stator part of the machine, and the current carrying conductors placed in the magnetic field, that would be creating a force, and thereby a rotation will be generated. But in the case of a BLDC motor, actually, I told you that it is an inside out version of the conventional DC motor. That is, the rotor is actually provided with the field system, or the permanent magnets are mounted on the rotor part of the machine. There is no need of any connection to the permanent magnet that will create a magnetic field. And the armature winding is provided on the external stator. So here, the current that is injected into the way the stator armature winding is excited, that is actually based on some commutation scheme. So to have a continuous rotation for the rotor, you need to energize the different phases in the winding, in the stator winding, in some sequence. So that is actually how you do the commutation of a BLDC motor. So for this purpose, we have an electronic controller. So an electronic control is provided to control the sequence in which the different windings are energized. And for this, so we have seen in the previous slide that whenever the rotor is coming near to a particular stator phase, we will be energizing that particular stator phase. So we need to know about the rotor position before we excite a particular phase of the stator winding. We need to know about the position of the rotor, and based on this information, the controller decides which coil to energize. So now we will see what is actually commutation. So commutation is the process of switching the current in the motor phases to generate motion. So you can see here, this is a conventional DC motor where you are having a single coil placed in the magnetic field created by the two north and south poles here. So this is one coil side, and this is numbered 1, and you have the other coil side numbered 2 here. So if you see this, you can see that the current is now from this terminal, the current is going into the coil side 1, and it is completing its path through the overhang of the winding, and it is coming here, and this is coil side number 2. So in coil side number 2, you have current coming towards the commutator, and in coil side number 1, it is going away from the commutator. So in this case, now you can, there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field produced by the two poles, north and south poles. Now you can apply your Fleming's left hand rule to find out the direction of the force. So when you are placing a current carrying conductor in a magnetic field, force will be generated. And what is the direction of the force? To find that, you can apply the Fleming's left hand rule. So you can see that the force will be acting downwards on this coil side number 1, and on the coil side number 2, it will be producing a force upwards. So this will be creating a torque, and that will be resulting in a continuous rotation of the coil. So when this coil is rotating and it is now coming under the influence of north pole, this coil side 1, when it comes under the influence of the north pole, the current direction, here it is going away from the commutator, and when it comes under the influence of the north pole, now the current should get reversed and it should move in a direction coming towards the commutator segment. So when the same conductor is moving from the influence of south pole to a north pole, the current in the conductor or the coil side should reverse. And reversing current in a coil, it is not that easy. You cannot do that in one particular instant of time. So if you take this current as plus I, it has to get reduced, come to 0. When this is actually making a direction perpendicular to the magnetic field, the current should become 0. Then this is going in this direction, and you have it is coming under the influence of the north pole. The current should become minus I. So if it is plus I under the influence of south pole on the same coil side, when it is coming under the influence of the north pole, it should have a minus I. So the current direction should reverse. And this cannot happen at one particular instant of time. Slowly, the current will become zero, then it will go to the minus direction. So this is actually known as commutation. Under the influence of under a particular pole or under south pole, the conductor should carry current. All the conductors should carry current in the one particular direction, and all the conductors coming under the influence of the north pole, it should carry current in the opposite direction. And this is normally achieved with the help of commutator and brush assembly in normal machines. But in BLDC motors, this is not possible because there is commutators available, and not the rotor, the stator is actually provided with the armature winding. So normally in BLDC motors, we have an external controller to control this, to achieve this commutation. And that's why BLDC motors known as electronically commutated motors. Now we will see what is electronic commutation. So here, as we have seen, a motor controller is used to generate a 6-step. I will be explaining one particular scheme of commutation. So here, the motor controller is used to generate a 6-step commutation pattern on the three-phase motor winding. The 6 steps or commutation phases move an electromagnetic field. So we have to produce a rotating magnetic field. By properly sequencing the excitation of the different phases of the winding, we have to create a rotating magnetic field in the air gap of the machine. So here the controller should maintain accurate control of the motor, must always know the exact position of the stator in relation to the motor. That is why we know there should be some mechanism for sensing the rotor position. And normally the position feedback can be achieved by Hall effect sensors, encoders, or resolvers. This is a censored scheme. So if you are able to provide sensors on the motor, you can use any of these methods. And there are sensorless commutation techniques as well, where you need not use a sensor. So now normally we go for Hall effect sensors. So the BLDC commutation has to be done based on the feedback of the rotor position. Normally for this feedback of rotor position, we go for Hall sensors. And Hall sensors, we have two different types, like one is the analog Hall sensor and the second one is the digital Hall sensor. Analog Hall sensor, that will be creating an analog signal based on the strength of the magnetic field in which that is put. So you have, if it is a strong north pole, you will be having a maximum value for the voltage that is generated, and that will be in one direction. If it is under the influence of a strong south pole, it will be creating a same voltage signal in the negative direction. So accordingly, you will be having an analog signal that is generated from the analog Hall signal. Now we have digital Hall sensors, where it will measure a positive value, a high value if it is coming under the influence of north pole, and a zero value if it is coming under the influence of a south pole. So this way we can sense the rotor position, whether it is the particular rotor is coming near to or we can sense the rotor north pole and rotor south pole with the help of Hall sensors. So the BLDC motors are normally fitted with Hall sensors embedded into the stator on the non-driving end of the motor. Now this is showing the control of the BLDC motor. You can see here, this is a single phase motor. You will be having only one winding, and you can see by switching, properly controlling the switches SW1 to SW4, you will be able to excite the winding. So you can see here, when you are turning on SW1 and SW4, current will be flowing from here to here. And when you turn off these two switches, and now suppose you are turning on SW3 and SW2, so the circuit will be completed like this, and you can see the current will be flowing in the opposite direction. So you can have the current direction reversed by properly switching the the switching devices in the circuit. So here we are using an H-bridge converter circuit for controlling the motor operation. Now here, this is a three-phase bridge circuit driving a three-phase brushless DC motor. So you can see here there are three phases for the motor, and these phases are connected to the three-phase bridge, and by properly sequencing the switching on and off of the switches, you can control the commutation. You have to properly decide the commutation sequence based on the direction in which you have to control the motor, and you can you can decide which all switches have to be turned on and off, and in what sequence. Based on that, you can control the motor. Now this is showing single phase DC motor commutation sequence. So you can see here, this requires only a single Hall sensor. A Hall sensor is placed here on the stator, and when this Hall sensor is coming under the influence of a north pole, this is a rotor fitted with permanent magnets. Here you have a 4-pole rotor, and this is rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. So this Hall sensor, when it is coming under the influence of a north pole, that will be giving a high signal, high output signal. And when this is coming under the influence of a south pole, like that shown here, this is under the influence of a south pole, that will be giving a 0 output signal from the Hall sensor. So now using this Hall sensor value, you can decide the commutation scheme. So we will start from here. You can see here, the Hall sensor is fitted here. Now the rotor is moving in the anti-clockwise direction. So you can see here, now this is getting exposed to a north pole on the rotor. So A is getting exposed to a north pole on the rotor. So immediately what happens? A will become equal to 1. So A becomes equal to 1 from 0. Why it is from 0? Earlier it was under the influence of a south pole. Now as the rotor rotates in the counterclockwise direction, now the output value of A Hall sensor A becomes equal to 1, and there is a transition from 0 to 1. Now this is continuing the rotation. The rotor is continuing the rotation. Now this is a position where the rotor has moved through 45 degree in the counterclockwise direction. Now you can see here, this A Hall sensor A is under a north pole, completely under a north pole. So previous output value of Hall sensor A was 1. Now here also, because it is now coming under a north pole, A will be equal to 1. So there is no transition here. A's value remains the same. Now again the rotor rotates 45 degree in the counterclockwise direction. You can see here, now this is coming under, slowly it is getting under, coming into the influence of a rotor south pole. So a previous value of A was 1. Now immediately after this instant, it will be under a south pole, and the value of A will become equal to 0. So there is a transition from 1, previous value of 1 to 0 here. Now here again the rotor has moved through 45 degree in the counterclockwise direction, and you can see here this A Hall sensor A is completely under the influence of a rotor south pole. So what happens? The output will be equal to 0, and previous value also was 0. There is no transition. So the same thing continues. Same thing will be repeated. Now we can see here, so there is a transition here from 1 to 0. So whenever transition occurs, we have to do the commutation. So here we will close switch SW1 and SW4. So what happens? This circuit is getting completed like this. So current will start flowing through the motor winding in this direction. Okay. Now here there is no transition. Previous value of A equal to 1 and current value of A equal to 1, nothing happens. Now coming here, there is a transition of the Hall sensor output from 1 to 0. Now we can go for the next commutation sequence. So what we will do, we will switch off the previous two switches SW1 and SW4, and we will turn on the switches SW3 and SW. Now what happens? The circuit will be getting completed like this. Okay. So what will be the direction of current? Current is in this direction from switch SW3 to SW2. So what does it mean? Here the direction of current was in this direction, and here the current direction was in this direction. So the current direction has been reversed. Now you can see the timing diagram here. The Hall sensor values are given. So when it is from A equal to 1, these two sequences, you have the A equal to 1, and switch SW1 is turned on, and switch SW4 also is turned on at the same time. Whenever Hall sensor output remains 1, we will have SW1 and SW4 turned on. Now, after some time, it becomes equal to 0. There is a transition from the high value to low value for the Hall sensor output. So what we will do, we will turn off switch SW1 and SW4, and we will turn on SW2 and SW3. So this way, we can control the rotation of the BLDC motor. Single phase in this case, that's why we are providing only one Hall sensor. So this is giving you an idea about the current. So this current is having pulsations like this here. Why? Because you are having a PWM scheme applied to switches SW1. So upper switches are provided with PWM scheme. So when you want to control the speed, you can go for PWM. Otherwise, you just put signals like this. No need of a PWM. Okay. So this is how we control the commutation sequence in a single phase BLDC motor. Now coming to commutation of three phase BLDC motor. So in single phase motor, we have seen there is only one Hall sensor, but here we have to sense the rotor position using three Hall sensors. So we will be using three Hall sensors A, B, and C, and we have to keep that in around the stator at 120-degree electrical intervals. So for every 60-degree rotation, one of the Hall sensors changes its state. That we will see in next slide. And it takes 6 steps because we have to, for complete rotation, we need to have 360-degree rotation. So when there is for every 60-degree rotation, when there is a change in transition for the Hall sensor output, we need to have a commutation sequence generated. So we take 6 steps to complete the whole electrical cycle. So now we will see the three-phase machine commutation sequence. So this is the same thing is written here. That this is giving you an idea about the summary of commutation process. In one complete rotation of 360 electrical degrees, the excitation of the state of winding will be changed 6 times. So commutation happens at every 60 degree. Now we will see. So in this particular scheme that I'm explaining here, we will be having out of the 3 phases, only 2 phases will be having current. Only 2 phases will be excited at one point of time, and the third one will be plotting. So we will see that. So here, this is the commutation sequence for the 3-phase BLDC motor. You can see the same 4 pole rotor here, and you have the UVW phases, and we can see the Hall sensor A here, B here, and C here. They are 120-degree apart, electrical degrees apart. Now we can start from here. So here you can see the signals of the Hall sensors A, B, C. So A is under the influence of South Pole, it is 0 here, and B is under the influence of a North Pole, 1 here, and C is just entering into the influence of a North Pole, so that also is 1 here. Now here, after 45 degree of rotation, you can see here this A Hall sensor is under the influence of South Pole, 0 here, and B is under the influence of South Pole, 0 here, and C is under the influence of a North Pole, 1 here. So you can see here, this earlier state was 0, 1, 1, and now the state has changed to 0, 0, 1. So there is a change in state from 0, 1, 1 to 0, 0, 1. Now see this one. Again, the rotor has moved through 45 degree in the counterclockwise direction. You can see the direction, the Hall sensor output values. A is having a North Pole, so 1 here. B is having a South Pole and 0 here, and C is having a North Pole, 1 here. This way, the Hall sensor output has changed from 001 to 101. Similar way, here again 45 degree rotation, you can see here it is 100. So there are 6 steps for the commutation sequence. And you can see here what we are doing. We will start from here. For ABC equal to 0, 1, 1, which all switches are turned on and off. So you can see SW3 and SW4 are turned on. So which phase is getting connected here? So SW3, W, and you have the V phase connected. So at any time, two phases will be connected across the battery and one phase will not be connected. That is, it will be floating. Now coming here, you can see SW1 and SW4 are turned on. So here SW4 remains connected and here also SW4 remains connected. Now next sequence you can see SW1 is remaining on, but we have turned off SW4 and we have turned on SW6. Similarly, you can see that at every 60-degree, one switch will be turned off and another one will be turned on. So you can see that here. You can see the different diagrams and you can see which all switches are turned on and off after every 60-degree. So now you can see the timing diagram. So you can see this is the Hall signal of A, B and C. And here for 60-degree. So this is actually 001 corresponding to 001. So we can start from here. Corresponding to 001, which all phases are turned on. You can see from the associated circuit diagram. So SW1 is connected to U phase is turned on, and SW4 is connected to V phase and V phase is turned on. Like that, you can see how the different phases are turned on and off using the three-phase bridge circuit. So now to vary the rotation speed, you can use, so if you change, reverse the rotation and commutation sequence, you can rotate the motor in another direction, the opposite direction. That is, now it is rotating in the counterclockwise direction. If you want to rotate the motor in the clockwise direction, you can reverse the commutation sequence. Now, suppose you want to vary the rotation speed, then you can use the pulse width modulation signals on the switches at a much higher frequency than the motor rotation frequency. Thereby, the applied voltage across the motor we will be able to vary the applied voltage across the motor, and thereby we can control the speed. So, so far we were discussing about the sensored control of BLDC motor. Now we have the sensorless control as well available. So in certain applications, you won't be able to embed your Hall sensor into the stator part of the machine. So, in cases like the rotor in a closed housing and requires minimal electrical entry, such as the compressor or applications where the motor is immersed in a liquid, certain applications won't allow you to have access to the stator for placing your Hall sensor. So in such situations, you can go for sensorless scheme for the commutation sequence. So any commutation scheme, what we are actually doing is we are sensing the rotor position. So here also you can see the rotor position is sensed based on the back EMF. So back EMF, what does it mean? Back EMF means if you are rotating the motor using a prime mover, the EMF that is induced into the windings, that is actually known as the back EMF. So this back EMF will be positive when it is under the influence of one particular pole. Under the influence of the opposite pole, you will be having a negative back EMF. So sensing the back EMF zero crossing points, that is actually the point where the winding is coming under the influence of a different pole. If this is under the influence of a north pole, this is under the influence of a south pole. That like that, you can sense the rotor position by sensing the zero crossing points on the back EMF. So this also method also can be used for controlling the commutation in brushless DC. Now finally, we are coming to the electronic commutation comparison of electronic commutation and mechanical commutation. So in conventional DC motors, we have mechanical commutation, that is using copper commutated segments and the brushes. And electronic commutation we have seen that was implemented using semiconductor switches. So here that is given here. Then commutator arrangements are located in the rotor. It is located in the stator in the case of a BLDC motor, because the Hall sensors will be located embedded into the stator of the machine. Shaft position sensing is inherent in the arrangement. That is inherently inbuilt into the using the mechanical commutator and brush assembly. Now here, separate rotor position sensor is required. And number of commutator segments are very high in the case of a mechanical commutator. But here, electronic commutator, if it is the maximum number of switching devices is limited to 6. And mechanical commutator, it is highly reliable. And here, electronic commutator reliability is improved by specially designing the devices and protective circuits for the semiconductor switches. And here the mechanical commutator, it is difficult to control the voltage available across the tapex. It is not possible. But here the voltage available across the armature tapex can be controlled by employing PWM techniques for switching the motors. Now interpole windings are employed to have sparkless commutation in conventional DC motors. In BLDC motors, by suitably operating the switching devices, better performance can be achieved. So these are the references. And now we can go to the Q&A session.
Yes, ma'am. There are certain questions coming in.
Okay.
Someone has asked, Rahul has asked, why specifically Hall effect sensors?
No, I have explained with the help of a Hall effect sensor. There are other like resolvers, encoders, etc. are also available for rotor position sensing. Number of commutation schemes are available. I have just explained one simple scheme using a Hall sensor. Because it is actually I wanted it is for the beginners I'm giving this class, so I wanted to have the idea how this commutation is being done. So you can refer to a lot of materials available in internet, like a lot of papers, research papers are available. Every day, newer and newer methods are coming up for controlling the BLDC motors, and a lot of methods are available.
Okay, ma'am. Then there's a question. Application of BLDC motors.
Okay. BLDC motors, the application is increasing day by day. Like when we think about the domestic applications, like the fans that we use in our homes. Earlier it was single phase induction motors, but now we have BLDC motor based electric fans available. If you compare the power consumption, the power is very less, when just nearly half power is being required for if it is a BLDC motor that is used for domestic fans for domestic purposes. And you can see when we travel in trains, the present day coaches, they are fitted with fans with BLDC drives. So a lot of applications are coming up with BLDC motors.
Okay, ma'am. Then Bipin has asked to explain the working of BLDC control. Please explain the working of BLDC control.
BLDC control, brushless DC control. That is actually because we are not having any brushes here. So why brushes are provided in DC motors? We have to provide current into the moving armature winding. That is why brushes are being provided. So along with the commutator, these brushes are being used for injecting proper polarity of current into the rotating armature winding. That is actually known as commutation. Now, when it comes to BLDC motor, you are not having any rotating winding. The rotor is provided with permanent magnets. So there is no need of a connection to be given to the rotating part. So there are no brushes required in BLDC motors. This was actually explained in the previous session of the webinar, where the introduction about the BLDC motors were given. Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah, okay, ma'am. Then Karthik has asked, what is the purpose of electronic controller?
Oh, this so we have seen the Hall sensors. Are generating some signals based on the rotor position. So the rotor position is to be taken into consideration when you are switching the different phases of the motor. So there should be a controller. So we have generated the commutation sequence. So based on the sequence, there should be a controller which is actually controlling the switching of the switches in the bridge circuit. Okay, so for that a controller is required. And if you are going for a PWM scheme for the switches, then again there are a lot of calculations that is required. So based on that only the switching will be done. So that will be normally done with the help of a controller. So the rotor position has to be compared, and based on that, the appropriate state of winding has to be switched on. So this is done by the help of a electronic controller.
Okay, ma'am. Then Hari has asked, will the commutation sequence vary with change in number of poles?
Sequence will not change. Like if you want to rotate the motor in opposite direction, the sequence will change. So again, you have to see. So I have given that 120-degree electrical degrees. So you have to keep the Hall sensors accordingly. So the spacing between the Hall sensors here we have seen it is 120 degree. So if you're having the same Hall sensor position, I'm talking about electrical degrees. So in that case, you will be getting the same sequence.
Okay, ma'am. Then how to measure speed of BLDC motor from position sensor? With position sensor probably.
Speed, there are so many different methods for sensing the speed. Actually, here I'm talking about the commutation only. So if you go into the speed sensing, even with the Hall sensor output, you can sense the speed. So that will be done within the controller. You can sense the speed of the motor using Hall sensor signals itself. You can sense the speed using inside the controller. So if you want to run a motor at a particular speed, you can sense the speed of the motor using the Hall signal outputs, and you can compare with the reference speed, and accordingly you can control your switching scheme.
Okay, ma'am. Then someone has asked, this is a really difficult portion to understand. Can you please tell what all questions will be asked from this topic?
Normally, actually, for the syllabus under EE402 special electrical machines of KTU, that is very light. So there won't be, much deeper portions are not included in the syllabus. So you will be, yeah, it is actually having some constructional details, principle of operation, then applications, comparison of the different constructional like the different types and comparison of different types of motors, application wise what will be when you go for a particular constructional particular topology, then application wise how do you select a particular motor, like that only. It is according to the syllabus, it is very light. Then you should know about how commutation is implemented in BLDC motors. Then you should be able to compare the mechanical and electronic commutation. That's all.
Yeah, ma'am. And Achyutan has mentioned that I was thinking that all the BLDC motors have only three-phase winding. Thank you for introducing single-phase BLDC motor. That's what he's got to say.
Okay.
And he's got one more question. Why are we modulating the DC in between the switching over?
Like I think you are talking about the PWM, signal supply to the switches. I told in the during the presentation itself that if you want to control the speed, the motor is now rotating in a particular direction, and if you want to control the speed, then you can go for a PWM scheme. Otherwise, if you want to run the motor at a constant speed, you need not go for a PWM scheme.
Okay, ma'am. That is it from the questions. You can
Okay.
continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
my presentation is in another PPT.
Yeah,
So let
ma'am.
me.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can just open it. Yeah.
Okay. So in this session of the webinar, we will be discussing about the commutation of linear motors. So now, what are linear motors? You have seen a session on linear motors 1 week before. So we know a linear motor converts electrical energy to linear mechanical force. So far, we were discussing about rotating electrical machines. Now we are having a linear motor that converts electrical energy to linear mechanical force. And this was introduced by Professor Eric Leithwade, and it was in 1950s. But this kind of motors were not very popular, and Professor Eric Leithwade described his invention as no more than an ordinary electric motor spread out. So it is nothing but an ordinary electrical motor spread out. So we will see what are the specialities or the different commutation scheme for linear motor. So this is an electric rotary motor. You have the motor here, and the rotor is rotating inside the stator. So now cut this rotor or the motor and roll out. So we will cut this axially and we will roll out and we will get a motor like this. So this is the electric linear motor. So you can see here the tooth on the rotor part you have here, and this is the permanent magnet that is there on the outer stator part. So this is the stationary part and this is the rotor part of the rotary motor that is spread out. Now, so here the linear motors are producing a motion in the rectilinear motion. This is producing a rectilinear motion. And normal motor, this is producing a rotation. So here you can see the same motor in when the linear counterpart of that is producing the rotor is producing. This is not actually the rotor. We call it as the poser or the runner, and that is having a rectilinear motion, and the state is spread out here. So, in normal motors, we have torque and angular acceleration of conventional rotary machine are replaced by force and acceleration in a straight line in linear motors. Now, the principle of operation, you have already seen this in last webinar on linear motors. Now, the same principle here as in rotating electrical machine, any conductor, current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field will be producing a force on that. So you can see this current carrying conductor that has to be placed in a moving magnetic field that will be having the conductor also will be having a motion along with the rotating or the moving magnetic field. So the conductor can be a loop, a coil, or simply a piece of plate metal. The secondary, normally we call it as the secondary, and that can be a loop. It need not be a coil, or simply it can be a plate metal. So now the principle is based on the opposing fields between the primary and the secondary. So in rotating electrical machines, we call it as the stator and the rotor. Here we call it as the primary and the secondary. So primary is the side where we give the provide the windings and give the excitation, and secondary we keep the current carrying conductor in the secondary part of the machine. So you can see here rotary machine and its linear counterpart is that the linear version has a start and a finish. That is the only difference. So this is the linear counterpart of a rotating machine. Stator coils are provided here, and this is the rotor. So you have a start and finish, or we can say that the air gap is open here. But in the case of a rotating machine, you have a closed air gap, or there is no start or finish for the rotating electrical machine. So this is having a stator coils which are shorter, so that is known as short stator machines, and here the rotor is shorter, that we call as the short rotor machine. Now control of the linear motor is identical to rotary motors itself. Here the linear motor system can have either the forcer or the magnetic track move. So when we compare this, we can have either this part moving or this part moving in the motor. So either this primary side can be moving, or the secondary side can be moving. Now a moving forcer motor requires a cable management. That is the difficulty, but in this case, if the stator is made a moving part, then you need to have a cable also moving, because we have to give supply to the stator winding. So the cable should also be moving along with the moving part. That is a difficulty there. But in the case of moving track or the secondary, if it is made moving, then the motor must move the load plus the mass of the magnetic track has to be moved. However, there is an advantage that no cable management system is required. So in this case, no cable management system is required, but we need to move the motor along the load. The motor should move the load plus the mass of the magnetic track. Now coming to the control aspects, so the primary part is connected to the AC power supply to produce a magnetic field. Now by changing the current in the coils, current in the coil phases, the polarity of each coil can be changed. So now the rate of change of the current controls the velocity of the movement, and the amperage of the current determines the force that is generated. So if you want to have a large force to be generated, the current in the winding has to be made high. And if you want to control the velocity of the movement, then you have to change the current in the coils. So in other case, for BLDC motor rotating machine, we have seen to control the speed of the machine, we are changing the applied voltage. Now here we are changing the velocity. If you want to change the velocity of the linear motor, then we have to change the current in the winding. And here the basic disadvantage of the linear motor is either a long spiral cage of conducting bars must be provided, and of which only a short section is in use. So the the linear motor should have a long squirrel cage of conducting bars, but only some short portion will be conducting at any time. Or we can have a long stator winding, and we will be using only a small portion of that, merely to drive a short rotor. So this is actually a disadvantage of the linear motor. Now, in order to generate motion in a three-phase linear motor, there must be switching between the phases to energize the appropriate phases. So here, similar to what we discussed in BLDC motor commutation, here also we should know about the rotor position, or the position of the rotor. Accordingly, we have to switch on the different phases in the motor. So what is needed to effectively move a linear or torque motor? Commutation of the current phases, and optionally a Hall effect sensor is here is required here as well to sense the position of the rotor. The three phases of current need to be controlled continuously in order to generate motion. So Hall sensors can be used to determine the position of the forcer within the magnetic field, or for a controller to correctly commutate the phases. So similar fashion here also we are commutating the current in the different phases according to the position of the forcer. You can see here, this is the process of commutation in a linear motor. We will start from here. Here you can see this is suppose this is the north pole, then this will be a south pole, and alternate north and south poles are provided, and these are the windings to be excited. So here this is coil number 1, coil number 2, and coil number 3. And you can see here this is directly over a north pole, so there is no current through this one. And when you consider the second coil, you can see this is approaching a south pole. So this has to be made, provided with excitation in such a way that this is becoming north pole. And this, if you compare the third coil, you can see this is approaching a north pole. So this has to be having a current in such a direction as to have a south pole created here. Now you can see the current position here. This is the three-phase supply given to the coils. You can see this is coil number 1 is excited with current here. So there is no current here. So this is having no polarity. Now this is 2. Yellow is 2. So this is becoming a north pole. And this is 3, positive maximum value in here, and that is becoming a south pole. Here this is negative maximum value, so that is becoming a north pole here. Now after this, after some duration, this has moved in this direction because of the attraction between these two. It is moving in this direction, and you can see here this is coming in between the north pole and the south pole. So coil 1 is now turning north pole. So the current direction has to be here. It was 0 here, 0 current here. Now the current has to be in an appropriate direction, so that this is becoming a north pole. Now at this particular instant, the coil 2 is directly over a south pole, and this is becoming there is no current through this one, and the current here is 0. Now this one is approaching a north pole, and this has to be having a current in such a direction that this is becoming a south pole. You can see here. So the different coils. This is yellow. So coil 1 is having a negative maximum current here, so that this is becoming a north pole. Now coil 2 is having a 0 current. You can see that. And this is having a positive maximum, near to a current near to positive maximum. So that is on. In this way, you can see the current through the different coils, how they are being controlled, so that there is a constant smooth motion of the stator. Here this is the short stator that is moving, primary that is moving here, or it can be this as well. Normally the shorter one will be moving, so this is moving in this way, so towards the left it is moving. Okay, so this way you can control the current in the different phases for controlling the movement of the linear. So this is how you do the commutation in linear motors. So for that also you need to have the position sensing. So you should know about the position of the these coils, so that we have to appropriately choose current through the different coils in such a way that there is a continuous motion for the primary here. In this case it is the primary. So this is continuously repeated. The same sequence can be repeated. Okay, so that's about the commutation of linear motors. So the different commutation schemes available are now here also you can see that you need to have a call sensor or some position sensing mechanism should be there, and based on the feedback from the position sensing mechanism, you have to appropriately switch on and off the different phases in the primary side of the machine. So this is somewhat similar to the commutation schemes in BLDC motors. So similar to that, you can create your commutation scheme in linear motors as well, and you can control the switching of the different phases based on the Hall effect, or the position feedback, whatever be the sensor that is being used, or it can be a sensorless scheme as well. you have to go for the different commutation sequence, and you have to find out the or you have to properly control the switches so that you can have the correct sequence of excitation current through the different phases in the state or the primary. So that's all about the commutation of linear motors. Now we can go to the question answer session.
Yes, ma'am. A question has been asked. Can linear motors be driven by both AC and DC?
Linear motors actually, yes, because DC, what is actually there? You are having a current carrying conductor placed in a magnet. That is the basis of all these motors. So when there is a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field, there will be the force exerted on the motor. So there can be DC or AC can be used for linear motors, and linear DC motors are also available.
Okay, ma'am. Will the sensors be different if in DC? The same person has asked.
DC actually the control will be somewhat different. The position sensing can be done with the same kind of sensors, but the commutation scheme will be different in DC motors.
Okay, ma'am. Then Karthik has asked, what is meant by the advantage of cable management in control of linear motors?
Now, cable management means when you are having a stator winding, or not a stator, we call it as a primary in linear motors. Primary is provided with windings, and these windings are to be excited. So when you are having this primary side moving, or the forcer is the primary side, the runner is the primary side, then as the primary moves, the connection to the primary windings are given through cable. So this cable also has to be moved along with the runner. So that is there is a requirement for the cable management when the primary is moving in a linear motor. But in the case if it is the rotor side moving, then in that case there is no power that is given to the rotating or the moving part. There is no requirement of a cable management in if the rotor is, or the forcer, the uh, secondary is moving.
Okay, ma'am. Then application of linear motors in real world.
Real world, we have so many applications, like very powerful applications also are available. And I mean, in daily life applications, we can see when you enter into a mall, or when you go to the airport, you can see the sliding doors. We are using linear motors for the sliding doors. Then if you see the belt conveyor systems, then baggage clearance section in airports, uh, baggage claims, that that is there also we are using linear motors. Then the powerful applications we have heard about maglev. Then we have magnetic levitation. We have heard about EMALS, like electromagnetic assisted aircraft launch system. All these are very powerful applications of linear motors. Number of applications are available.
Okay, ma'am. And then a question from the previous session, I guess. Is the commutation for PM, BLDC and BLDC motor the same or different?
Pardon, I couldn't get the question.
Is the commutation for PM, BLDC and BLDC motor the same or different?
PM BLDC and BLDC motor, they are one and the same. If it is PMDC, permanent magnet DC motor, in that case, the permanent magnet DC motor, the conventional DC motor in the electromagnet is replaced with the permanent magnet in a PMDC motor. So in that case, commutation, mechanical commutator and brushes are required in PMDC motors. Permanent magnet brushless DC motor, they are same as brushless DC motors itself. So they are having, they are to be electronically commutated. Mechanical commutators and brushes are not available. In the case of a PMDC motor, the only difference with conventional DC motors is that electromagnets in conventional DC motor is replaced with permanent magnets. So armature remains the same. Armature is housing the armature windings, and you need to give current to in proper direction to the rotating armature conductors. So there you need to go for a mechanical commutator and brushes. That is same as the what is there in ordinary DC motor, right?
Okay, ma'am. That is all from the students
Okay.
have asked.
Okay.
Thank you. So,
Okay.
so thank you very much, ma'am, for your for the time that you've taken. This was a very elaborative session on commutation of BLDC as well as linear motors.